Hi everyone, Zoe and Nick here at Gardenville Acupuncture and Chinese Herbal Medicine. We're back for part 3 on menopause. Part 1 we spoke about what menopause is. Part 2 was common and some more obscure presentations that are commonly seen in clinic. You can find those in the link nearby. And part 3, let's talk about some tools, some tips to kind of help patients and people get through this phase of life. So I'll hand it over to Nick.
Oh, thanks again, Zoe.
You're so welcome.
So, let's just assume that we're talking about perimenopause and menopause. We spoke about perimenopause in episode 1 as to what's going on, and no one's really sure. It's very hard to test, get blood work done, etc. It's such a fluctuating time. So symptoms can kind of come in then, or they might arrive more towards the menopausal phase.
Yep.
So, from a Chinese medicine perspective, what we can do is help facilitate the body's reaction, the body's symptoms because of this hormonal fluctuation. And that's been done in Chinese medicine for thousands of years.
Yep.
They didn't have the science to create hormones, but there is a lot of treatment available from our perspective that can support our organs, support our endocrine system, our metabolisms to help with lots of the symptoms, particularly things like the big ones like hot flushes.
Yep.
There are acupuncture points and there are herbs that have a cooling effect and a balancing effect, and they're perfectly safe to use, and well, they're not harmful. I should say. So they can be really helpful, and obviously fatigue. We know about herbs like ginseng or astragalus, angelica. They're all herbs that can have a very nourishing and energizing effect on our body. So, and there are acupuncture protocols or an acupuncturist experience. They'll be able to apply the strategies that they like to do to really help. But there's important tips, I think, Zoe, just lifestyle stuff like nutrition. You'd rate that highly, I'd imagine?
I think so. As you've probably heard us say many times, our 4 pillars of health, and one of those being nutrition. So eating to support the body and support the hormones through that time. So when you're experiencing those hot flushes, not eating as well, from a Chinese medicine perspective, such hot, spicy foods that are going to add more heat internally. We want to have some more balancing, cooling foods to support and reduce that internal heat.
Anything that heats up the liver effectively is going to exacerbate that situation. So I put alcohol in that camp. I mean, probably already experienced that, sorry folks, that alcohol, when you get a little older, is unfortunately pretty stressful on our systems, or more so than normal. So that's also going to impact you. Coffee can also be one,
and being mindful of hydrating, probably double as much to the amount of coffee that you're having, because it's dehydrating. And often we don't compensate for that way that it dehydrates the body. We need to replace that and replenish even more so to make sure that there's enough fluid in the body and we're hydrated enough to get through.
We really want nourishment,
Exactly.
So we want protein,
Iron.
and healthy fats to supplement, because actually another symptom that I didn't mention in the last episode that I've just remembered is a little like low ferritin, low iron levels. Not really sure why, not really sure how, but it's not uncommon for someone to have to go off and get a colonoscopy to see if there's any internal bleeding, etc. in the gut, and there's no real cause detected. So that's another common one I see in the clinic anyway. So eating healthy proteins, nourishing foods. Now this is a case-by-case scenario, but I always advise caution with fasting as well, because during perimenopause or rolling into menopause, the body's in a bit of a distressed state for Chinese medicine, from a Chinese medicine perspective, and that can lead to what we call stagnation. It's like it affects circulation.
Things can't flow.
And it affects sort of neural sensitivity. So that's something that we want to really work on. And if you're fasting, it can just exacerbate the stress. So for some people it's good, but for others it can be problematic. And it sort of goes into this category of other habits that are quite common at the moment, like ice baths and various exposure treatments. But that's for another video.
Another chat, I think.
Yeah. So definitely, I think nutrition, exercise is really important as well. But not too much, not too little, trying to get it right, depends on what's going on in life. Mm-hmm. What else do we talk about, Zoe?
So we speak about sleep.
Yes.
And stress management.
Yes.
Is the other big one that also, as we spoke about in the last video, a lot of people can experience anxiety around this time. So having those tools to manage stress and the everyday stresses that life can bring, just being able to navigate through those so that your body's not in more stress and doesn't have to work on managing that stress and can just focus on what it needs to do.
Obviously, if your symptoms are severe as well, you need to go to your GP and talk about that because there are lots of strategies that they can also help with. But there's certain things that also Chinese medicine is really good for. So we're always here to help.
Perfect. I think we should wrap it up there before we go on forever.
Yes,
but
indeed.
If you want more info,
I'm known to do that.
We could go on for a while.
Yeah.
For more info, you can always head to our website, gunveiltcm.com.au, and you can find the links to part 1 and part 2. And we hope to see you in the clinic soon.
Bye for now, folks.